Chapter 6, Integumentary System, Part 3. So, those sebaceous glands, unfortunately, can become plugged by their own secretions, sometimes plugged because of a bacterial infection, and that leads to acne, which is why acne can develop in teenage years because the sebaceous glands become active and then become extremely active. A blackhead and a whitehead are just the sebaceous glands becoming plugged with sebum. Sometimes an infection will develop that can lead to pustules, which are small dome-filled, pus-filled shapes. Normal minor acne, larger acne, as it were, could become nodules, which are even bigger and can actually damage the hair follicle, leading to scarring. And then in some extreme cases, a cyst can form where these body's immune response will actually form a connective tissue structure surrounding where the infection is. This can be very large, size of like a marble under the skin, and again can lead to scarring. All right, struminous glands. Struminous glands are found in the ear canal. They are modified sweat glands, and their secretion mixed with sebum from the sebaceous glands produces what we know as earwax. So cerumen is earwax. Earwax is helpful, helps to prevent the entry of foreign bodies, waterproofs the ear canal, and keeps out bacteria and fungus. It actually has an antimicrobial function. Mammary glands. Mammary glands are modified apocrine glands. So they are able to produce milk, which is important for the infant, and they only function during the later stages of pregnancy and afterward, as long as the female is breastfeeding. All right, sometimes our skin gets damaged, and one way this can happen is by some form of cut. What happens is, of course, we get the actual cut, and if it's deep enough, it'll go through the epidermis and into the dermis. When that happens, the skin will bleed, because if you cut down into the dermis, you will rupture blood vessels. After the bleeding has occurred, the blood vessels will form a blood clot, and that will stop the loss of blood. And at the same time, leukocytes, white blood cells, will arrive and begin cleaning up the wound, engulfing any particulates, engulfing any pathogens that are found in the injured site. And then after that's happened, fibroblasts and blood vessels will start to regrow and fill in the area. The fibroblasts will produce what's called a granulation tissue, not quite the original tissue, but it's an initial stage toward the repair of the dermis. And of course, the blood clot will dry out and become the scab. And then over time, the epithelial cells will grow in from the edges of the injury into the center underneath the scab, and the fibroblasts and other cells will repair the dermis underneath, and you can either get a complete repair of the skin, giving you nice, healthy, lovely skin again, restoring the organ's function, or you can get a fibrosis or scar. This is when the fibroblasts produce primarily lots of collagen fibers, basically attempting to seal the injured site together so that it won't rupture again, but in the process not restoring the function in that area. So a scar is never as good as the original skin that was there. All right, burns. Burns is another way we can injure ourselves. There are a few different kinds of burns. There are the first-degree burns. First-degree burns are where the epidermis is the only layer damaged. First degree only goes into one layer, the epidermis. Examples of this are sunburns, or if you touch something hot but only very briefly. Second-degree burns is where you have injury to the epidermis and the dermis. So both epidermis and dermis are damaged, so two layers are damaged, and this can lead to reddening of the skin. This can lead to blisters. Blisters form when the epidermis separates from the dermis and fluid fills in that space. Secondary burns may be serious enough to need medical attention, maybe not, just depends on how large an area is covered. Then we have third-degree burns. Third-degree burns, the injury goes through the epidermis, through the dermis, and into the subcutaneous layer. So third degree goes through 3 layers, epidermis, dermis, and into the subcutaneous layer. Third-degree burns are always serious. You should always seek medical attention if you think you have a third-degree burn. Third-degree burns, when they heal, can lead to scarring, can also lead to nerve damage, so that area may lose sensitivity. There are 4th, 5th, and 6th-degree burns, but usually people who experience those burns don't survive the event that caused the burns, so we're not going to talk about those. All right, UV radiation, as we know, our skin is exposed to UV radiation from the sunlight. This accelerates aging and also can lead to the development of skin cancer. Skin cancer, turns out, is the most common type of cancer, most common type for all human beings. Usually skin cancer develops in the head neck area or in the hands, basically areas that get a lot of exposure to sunlight. Fair-skinned people with lighter skin color are more at risk. With people with darker skin color are less at risk, and that's because melanin, again, can protect from the UV radiation. In order to reduce risk, you can use things like sunscreen or try to avoid UV exposure, and do not use tanning beds. There are 3 main kinds of skin cancer. There is melanoma. Melanoma is when melanocytes become cancerous and malignant. This is a very dangerous form of cancer. If you think for some reason that a mole's looking weird or that you may have melanoma, you should seek medical attention quickly. Very dangerous. There is basal cell carcinoma, where keratinocytes at the stratum basale level are mutated and become cancerous. It is not very dangerous, but if you do think you have it, you should seek medical attention. Very easy to treat. And then squamous cell carcinoma is when cells in the stratum spinosum layer are mutating and forming the cancer. Also not very dangerous, but again, anytime you think you have cancer, you should get it checked out. Melanoma, get it checked out immediately. These 2, you can wait a few months if it takes a really long time to see the doctor. All right, skin changes with aging. As we get older and more elderly, we start to produce fewer stem cells, fewer cells that are able to divide to produce new cells. So that means skin repair is going to take longer. It will take longer to repair from injuries. And the skin becomes thinner overall, which means its protective functions are reduced. As we become older, the protein synthesis reduces, which means there's a reduction in the production of collagen fibers. So there's reduced numbers of collagen fibers, so skin is less strong. The elastic fibers, because they're not being replaced as often, are losing their elasticity, and we begin to develop crease lines or folds, more commonly known as wrinkles. On top of that, the immune response is decreased. There are fewer epidermal dendritic cells. There are fewer immune response cells in general, so it's more likely to people are more likely to develop infections. And of course, hair follicles, their activity decreases, leading to the thinning of hair. See, nice, young, healthy, supple skin. More mature skin, still pretty thick and safe, but you're starting to see some of the wrinkles develop. And then elderly skin thins out, significant reduction in protein synthesis and formation of additional wrinkles. All right, and that is it for this chapter.